worlds were generally treated as features of the landscape, resources that study and exploitation might render useful. Such utilitarian motives rarely lent themselves to reflections on the deeper themes Chief Seattle addressed on that January day. In the 21st century, we wrestle with the contradictions of that history. We have learned that the dominance many of us assumed as a birthright leaves us vulnerable to unexpected shocks. The power and influence our ancestors acquired make us soft targets, even as pursuit of wealth breeds poverty. Uneasily, many search for meaning in the words passed down to us from a man we hardly know. It is no small thing to be the largest city in the world named after a Native American. Although Seattle was a person of considerable stature in his day, very little is actually known about him. His pre-literate people do not show up in the historic record until the 1790s, and their genealogical memory did not extend many generations beyond. The earliest references to him and his people come from the logs, journals, reports, letters, and accounts written by those who arrived to claim and exploit the land. Missionaries who played a crucial role in this conquest described their native charges from a somewhat different perspective, recording their languages and myths to more effectively convert them. The emphasis in all these writings was on utility. It was only when ethnographers, anthropologists, and linguists interested in native cultures and societies for their own sake made records of what native peoples actually thought and said in their own languages that we began to realize how unique their world was. But by then, it had been largely swept away. The first historical reference to Seattle appears in an 1833 journal entry made by William Fraser Tolmie, a young Scottish doctor hired by the Hudson Bay Company to tend to its local employees. Tolmie described Seattle, then in middle age, as a brawny Suquamish, with a Roman countenance and black curly hair, the handsomest Indian I have seen. Nearly 2 decades later, a government official, Indian agent Edmund A. Starling, mentioned a significant detail about Seattle in a report to Governor Stevens. Describing native traditions of leadership, he wrote, "Sometimes a free male or chief will take a slave and raise her to the condition of one of his wives. The condition of their issue I could never entirely comprehend. Seattle, one of the most sensible and influential chiefs on the Sound, was born of parents of this condition, his father was a chief or Tyee and his mother being a slave. He is chief at present of the Suquamish tribe. 'Tis a stigma, however, upon him, which, were it not for his known good sense, would take much influence from him that he otherwise would have. A handsome nobleman or the son of a slave. In the Journal of Occurrences at Nisqually House, the daily log kept by chief traders at the Hudson's Bay Company post near the head of Puget Sound, few native leaders have as many negative epithets associated with their names as Seattle. He was described as violent and troublesome, a blackguard, a villain, and a scamp, and one distressed writer recorded his wish that Seattle's own people would murder him. He has since been described as a friend to the whites, their enemy or their stooge, a counselor to his people and a traitor to his race. Ambiguity is his hallmark. Even though Seattle was in his 60s when Americans gained power on the Sound, they wrote most of what little is recorded about him and had the most dealings with him. It may surprise many that long before he died, he was quoted in the New York Herald's morning edition. Even so, what was written about him is often superficial and contradictory. Indeed, the paucity and ambiguous nature of what we know about Seattle has allowed him to be refigured to suit a variety of purposes. He has been described as a war leader, a peacemaker, a gifted orator, a savage who communicated only in signs and grunts, a friend, a traitor, a drunk, a supporter of temperance, a religious leader, a philosopher, and an environmental saint. Like Jesus and King Arthur, other iconic figures about whom little is known for sure, he has become a malleable symbol. Aside from his oft-repeated name, the only literal mark he left in history was a short line marked